Hello my sea stars and welcome back to the channel. My name is Gamigiaru, aka Tenko, and I am here with an interesting subject. For a very long time there has been something known as art fixing within the art community. Art fixing refers to the act of digitally altering or modifying an existing piece of art, often done by individuals who believe that the original work contains flaws or needs improvement. Usually related to issues like representation, anatomy, or stylistic choices with the intention of quote-unquote fixing those perceived problems. It can be considered a form of artistic critique or even appropriation depending on the context and motivation behind the edits. Whilst art fixing has always really been a thing, it's been getting a lot more popular with websites like TikTok. Just by typing in art fixing or fixing art on the TikTok app will wield several results of people just drawing over art they deem problematic, or fixing other people's art, or redesigning characters from shows or movies or other people's OCs, usually in a bad-willed, intentional way. In this video, I will be discussing all the different types of art fixing, some of the people who are most known for it, and some examples of what happens when someone's art fix becomes a little too popular within TikTok. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So let's start with the positives. Sometimes these fixes are genuinely meant to help. Beginners might share their work online, and a more experienced artist think they're offering guidance by redrawing or adjusting it. It's like a visual critique, and hey, constructive feedback can be pretty valuable. A lot of the times people will submit their art to YouTubers or other big creators to redraw or draw over for art fixing, which is completely consensual. However, many artists see unsolicited art fixing as disrespectful. Imagine spending hours perfecting your piece only for someone to say, "It's wrong, here's my version instead." It could feel like someone's stepping on your creativity. Even worse, some art fixes can be downright harmful, especially when they involve erasing cultural elements, changing body types, or whitewashing characters. Yikes. Another thing to mention is if someone's art style isn't exactly cutesy, anime, pretty art style, then a lot of people will take it upon themselves to redraw the art in a more anime-esque art style or something more cutesy. Which leads into my next point about art lore. If you go on Urban Dictionary, there's two different definitions of art lore, which honestly explains the two different types of the fandom with this. The first one states, a trend on TikTok where someone posts something bigoted / overly sensitive with a drawing, and most often people copy it to mock the original video. Whilst the second definition says, usually glorified bullying or harassment towards artists because of a harmless style or art piece, especially after it gets popular. One of the most known examples of this is a TikTok video / meme known as rendering process, where a miner by the name of Croquette posted a video of their rendering process. Because of the proportions of their character, people started recreating the drawing with intentions of mocking and to make fun of the original, to the point where they deleted their account. This miner was also called a groomer and other things just for liking the Dream SMP, even though there was no evidence of it. A recent example of quote-unquote art lore was someone posting a video titled, "Using my friend group's humor at art school," drawing themselves as conventionally attractive and then drawing a bunch of people who don't get the joke as conventionally ugly. People took offense to the video and started drawing fan art of the people that she drew ugly, and have been calling her ugly on her own platform. Someone very well known for fixing art within the art community was a person named Z Fixes Art. Z was a Twitter artist who was very known for their controversial fixes of anime characters. Their approach, turning characters into darker skinned and larger bodied versions of themselves, often with the claim that they're making designs more inclusive or realistic. While Z's intention might be to promote diversity, their approach has sparked a lot of controversy. What really sets Z apart is how they handle criticism. There have been a lot of instances where Z has lashed out at fans of animes like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or the Toho Project. They've gone as far as threatening those communities, making it hard to tell if they're genuinely advocating for change or just trolling for reactions. I asked a bunch of different people on Discord and on my community tab whether or not it was okay to fix art. And here is a general consensus of what I got. If you agree or disagree with any of the takes in this video, please comment down below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you're shown in the video, hi!
I think it's entitled and unnecessary to think you have any right to change something you didn't make. Criticism is one thing, but even then, unless it's asked, it's equally as unnecessary to give it.
I'm very much against it. There shouldn't be a need to fix art that you didn't make. You think you can do better, sit your ass down and draw some art yourself. Seeing it happening with people whitewashing black headcanon character designs just because they aren't supposed to be black just straight up shows you're an entitled bitch.
I'd consider it if it was all consensual and ultimately fruitful at the end. Also probably best to do that in a casual setting, not a professional one.
I had a boy come back 50% whiter than he should have been after asking the artist 3 times to make it darker. And the others I needed to edit because my main girlie's eye color was wrong after an updated design. But I know it's probably not talking about commissions. I also paid someone to fix my art before when it came with constructive criticism.
If someone specifically asks you to get their art fixed by a specific person as well, it is okay to me. But if someone's just randomly taking art they think is bad and drawing over it unwarrantedly, then I despise it. Especially when it's picking at tiny details or changing the skin color and nothing else in the art.
So, for art fixes, I'm always back and forth about it. I don't think you should be fixing stylistic choices of beginners. Remember that 12-year-old that had high eyes? No need to tell them to fix it. Young, just starting, just leave them alone. For a 16 plus, I think it's okay, only if your fix is actually a real fix. For example, if it's a warm color palette and the hair is red, but like a cold red. You need to give it a fix. If it's to make it a warm red, you didn't do much. You improve the work without changing much. I'm okay with these random fixes, not changing anatomy or style just because.
For me, it depends on the reason/context behind the fix. Were you helping out the artist because they asked for pointers in certain areas? Not really designing the whole thing, but highlighting what could be improved. I think it should be said that while yes, you don't have to wait for the artist to ask for help, it's best to do so and make sure to keep in mind your tone and what advice you were giving, whether asked for advice or not. But there is the problem with fixing art when it's just done to pretty much say, here, I drew it better than you/for you, not to mention that sometimes it is the other person redrawing something in their own style and claiming it's better. Just comes off as rude, disrespectful, and almost like an ego boost for the person.
I also sent out a Google forum. It's on my community page, and I also posted it on several Discord servers for anyone who wanted to remain anonymous. So I will be reading those aloud right now.
If someone just randomly taking art they think is bad and drawing over it unwarrantedly, then I despise it, especially when it's picking at tiny details or changing the skin color and nothing else in the art. By that, I refer to the people who do this to be harmful or racist on purpose. I think fixing art became something to do to artists whom artists simply don't like. No one asked, keep that shit to yourself. LMAO.
I think on a surface level, it isn't really a good thing. To correct mistakes and encourage improvement, giving visuals to help an artist advance is not fixing their art. It's providing constructive feedback. Now the issue lies in, did they ask for this, or are you just correcting a mistake you've seen in their whip or general line art? It's a matter of if they're seeking advice, criticisms, any of the sort. But to fix something because you didn't like it is pretty shitty, and unfortunately you missed the entire point of both the artist creating the piece as well as the human ability of making shit because they simply can. I.e., fixing art by completely erasing any people of color representation or making additions that you saw fit is just downright vile. Yeah, I don't care about the art. You care more about catering to your own needs. Something irked you so badly you felt moved enough to go into a program and edit a character to be white or straight or some weird compilated shit like that.
In most cases, it's a fine use of demonstration or when someone submits art to be fixed. There is a line to be drawn when art is not submitted and is fixed by someone just because they feel it lacks in some way, especially if said as much.
It's a gray subject.
Art doesn't need to be fixed, and it never has. The practice of fixing art is invalid. Of course, if the artist asks for some critique, then it is perfectly acceptable to help the person asking. But that does not mean you have permission to change their art piece. Art is subjective, and while art fixing may seem informational, it can also be detrimental to beginner artists and veteran artists alike. We should never make someone believe that their creation is inferior, or that they even aren't improving fast enough. We all work at our own pace, and it takes me many years to get where I am, and I'm still improving every day. TLDR, it is never okay to criticize someone or change their art, only with the exception of explicit permission.
I feel as if art fixing is a double-edged sword. While yes, it can always be considered appropriation via the person's intentions, it could be considered helpful if coming from a fellow artist or someone who means no harm insists so as they edit someone else's art and points out the pros and cons and how to help them improve. Though at the end of the argument, I'm in strong agreement that you should ask before trying to fix someone else's art. Maybe they're trying already to learn or just don't want critique on that certain art piece, if at all.
If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 by at least the end of the year, and if I don't, then that's fine, but I want to get to at least 900. It would be great and awesome if you guys could share this video anywhere, and yeah. Thank you guys so much for the support so far, and I hope to see you guys next time.